Did you realize now at this point that there's like a shooter outside? Like,
no, because they're. I don't want to get their background wrong. I think they're Korean. So there was like a huge language barrier.
Okay.
I felt so bad because I was like swearing and going back and forth because all I kept thinking about, like, I know the protocols having a tattoo studio, like I know the standards and whatever, and I knew that it was going to be hell for me because of the amount of blood that was in here.
Yes.
Like, it just contaminates everything, and at that point there was blood everywhere. So I was kind of just, I was going through my own shit at that point.
Yeah.
He couldn't get through to 911, so I just, well, when I brought them down, I shut off all the lights, so, because I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know if they were being followed, and I didn't want the guy to know that they came in here, obviously.
Yeah. And could you hear the people screaming outside?
No. All I heard was gunshots, and then I could hear, like, after I got them in and kind of like propped up, I could hear men like screaming, and my window at the front, it's got a mirror, so it's kind of angled, so you can see outside, right? So I was standing under there trying to see what was going on, and all I seen was like SWAT guys, and like, it was just crazy. So once I stopped, there was like a shootout. You could clearly hear it.
Yeah. Because they had a shootout with the accused, or with the guy, with the shooter.
Yeah. So what happened was, I guess, like, after the people who came in here, the guy started off further down, like by Logan, I think.
Yeah.
And he zigzagged all the way down the Danforth.
Wow.
And so from here, he went straight down to 7 numbers, which is like 6 buildings down. Shot, like, I think it was like 3 people in there.
Wow.
Just went off. And then that's, I think, when he got intercepted by the cops. But it's really strange because it all started at like 10, I think it was like 10 to 10. Or I don't even know times, to be honest. I shouldn't even say that because I don't know.
No, it was around that time.
It took 20 minutes for any police to be on site. And what's so strange is the guy was eating at Pt2 or something down the street, and the owners from there called the police. It was like, there's this guy who's acting really strange, like he's putting off weird vibes, whatever, and no cops like showed up.
Yeah.
So there was no cops, ambulance, fire, nothing.
So they got a warning pretty much prior to the shooting even happening.
And if you know Danforth, you know there's always
a lot of cops on the street. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know, there's always cops around here. But yeah, once the shootout was done, I just waited till I couldn't hear any more gunshots, and I ran upstairs and flagged the cop down. And
And like, RIP to the deceased, and condolences to the families, right?
Yeah.
Like, this being a traumatizing experience, like, did you see the deceased on the scene at the same time when you came up? Like, when you finally came outside?
No, they were down the street, probably about 2.5, 3 blocks away. At this point, I kind of knew what was going on because this son, he could speak English, kind of like broken English. So he kind of filled us in what was happening, and it was so surreal. When I flagged the cop down, he came down, and to kind of like tend to the people, he was like, okay, well, I don't need to do anything because like it's already done. So he was kind of filling us in, and that's the one thing that really got me is both of the girls who were killed were so young. And like, I've got 2 kids of my own. And the youngest, she's around the same age as my son.
Wow.
And I was literally my son was supposed to be here that night. But I just didn't pick him. I was like, you want to know what? I'm going to come get you tomorrow. Just chill.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was just kind of playing that in my head.
Yeah, it hit home that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. And one thing that I did notice in the City TV news special, they're talking about how the community came together and started helping you to get the shop back together. Prior to that, like, once you did your first initial cleanup of the blood around, like, what did the place look like?
I wasn't allowed to even be in here. For when it was like, I still came in, to be honest, because my dogs were like in the back and whatever. But I wasn't allowed to touch it. Hazmat had to come and legally clean it. So at first, the city was like, we'll cover it, no problem. And then I waited probably like 12 hours, nothing, calling them. I'm like, we need to do something, because I have my bloodborne pathogens. Like, I know what happens to blood when it sits. And there was literally like, there's blood everywhere. There's up the stairs. Like, I had to buy new beds. I had to buy anything in the booth that were in the booth. Like, I had to replace everything.
So everything is all brand new.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. Do you think that you're dealing with any post-trauma from this experience?
I don't, honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie. After everything happened, the news and like every other aspect around the whole event, they for some reason focused on me. And I knew kind of things that, like, I guess other people didn't know, because the cops were like telling us things as they were happening. So I was really like, honestly, it was like I was a celebrity and there was paparazzi just camped outside. Like, it was so crazy. And like, I'm a really private person. If you know me, like, I just am not that person. I just kind of do my own thing. And it was very intrusive. And I just felt like I was getting a lot of like negative feedback, and people just, you know how people are.
Like, what kind of negative feedback?
I got a lot of negative feedback.
Like online feedback?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, give us a couple of examples of like what kind of crazy shit are people out there trying to say?
Okay, so the first news article, like the first news, I guess, article or report or whatever interview, wasn't done by me. It was actually done, I found out later, by my old boss.
Okay.
Who owns a tattoo studio up the street.
Okay.
So that's kind of how everything broke. And I guess he was like the first person to like call in, and they just kind of honed in on whatever positive they could take from it. Now, like now after dealing with everything, I realize why. So once that hit, it just kind of like exploded, and within a day or two, I found out that the city wasn't covering my stuff. And I'm not really one to share too much on social media, but I was like, losing my mind. This business is something that I've literally invested everything that I've worked for so long, and like it's my one thing. It was like my ghetto, my stability, my kind of like, you know, future. And I was gonna lose, like, I literally would have lost everything. And my friend had set up a GoFundMe account, which I was completely against, because I knew it was going to get negative backlash. And it did, of course. So people were really honing in on that. And they were just like, oh, this girl's using this opportunity just to as a cash grab and whatever. And I was just like, if you put yourself in my shoes, like, imagine you work so hard and like you finally do something right in your life, and you're like on that path, and like something completely out of your hands fucks it all up and it's gone within like a second.
They're not also keeping into account the fact that you helped 2 wounded people that came in from like a crazy mass shooting, right?
Yeah, they don't. And the thing is like, even with that, I found it so strange. I don't want to like sit here and like boast about myself and whatever, but I've always kind of been the person where like, I don't know, I didn't always have everything growing up, and like we did struggle, and you know, even just simple things we didn't really have. So everything's kind of like, I never have any attachment to like any physical things or like materialistic things. So if somebody needs something, I'll give it to them. I really don't care. Or if somebody's hungry And I don't care if you're my enemy. If I know that you're hungry, I'll give you food. Like,
Right.
I'm that person. So for people to make such a big deal that I helped two people that were literally bleeding was like, I was so like dumbfounded by it. I couldn't believe it.
So you have the grand opening that, you know, this is one of the reasons that we're here in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Because you got the grand opening finally a year later, or almost a year later. The doors are essentially open already, but the final, like the grand reopening is happening. Okay, it brings me to opening a tattoo shop in the first place, right? What inspired you to, you know, and we can see you're a tattoo enthusiast, right? What inspired you to open a tattoo shop in the first place?
Honestly, growing up, I was kind of that, like, I didn't really fit in. It's weird because through school and everything, I was kind of friends with everybody except for the cool kids.
Okay.
Or the bullies. And I would be the person who would beat up the bullies. So I was good with basically everybody. I just meshed with every clique, but I didn't fit in anywhere.
Right.
So I was kind of just like on the wrong path. I was troubled child. Dealt with a lot of personal issues within my family and whatever.
And you grew up in Nova Scotia?
No, Nova Scotia here. And honestly, like my family, we moved so much. Like I went to 9 different elementary schools.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I was constantly moving. So I didn't really have a chance to like build those relationships. And I was used to kind of like having relationships and then just leaving. Yeah. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, so I used art as my escape. And it was like my way of kind of being able to like, I don't know, just take my mind off of things that I was going through with my family and with whatever else I was dealing with in life. And I was in a really bad time in my life. And an ex-boyfriend actually bought me a tattoo machine and was like, here, you can do this. Like, whatever. I always kind of wanted to get into it.
Right.
And this guy, my old boss, he actually gave me an amazing opportunity, and I really just went with it.
Nice.
And but once I was working with for other people, I'm just not that person. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this.
Do your own thing.
I do my own thing.
Yeah.
And